Okay, so I also found this with the hand of God. We've got Jupiter and Saturn symbols, alchemic symbols, and then we got the man and the woman. We also have Leo, and we also have the double-headed eagle, which is, flanking the Golden Gate. Um, and we have, yeah, so it's all there. So sorry guys, I can decode your ancient mystery school stuff. And so here we have Sirius's orbit, what some people are saying that it's doing. And it doesn't surprise me. I've listened to a couple different people on YouTube talking about it. And the ancient philosophers in the Renaissance time, which was, the age of enlightenment when people actually talked about this stuff openly, um, all the philosophers were talking about how Sirius was once blue, now it's red, or vice versa, and it's changing color as the orbit goes away. It's basically they're saying that's the binary to Earth, okay, the Sirius star. So if it's the binary to Earth, um, it's going to be pulling and changing things, and it's also going to kind of speed up the orbits as it gets closer. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, that this is kind of being hidden from us. If that's the case, you can read through these articles here if you want. I'm not going to bore you with my reading, but nothing surprises me anymore. Everything's kept so hidden because they don't want us to know about the great year. Because if they did, people would obviously panic. If a lot of people did, and people would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to work anymore." It would be chaos, right? If everybody knew. So they only want certain, the few knowing, people that can figure it out. Okay, so here's an interesting thing with the Big Dipper. I told you it goes to Regulus, but it also goes to Deneb, and it also goes to Polaris. So this is really significant. This constellation, how it points out so many other stars. So when you see the Big Dipper in the sky, you can figure out where a lot of other things are placed, and for navigation. And it ends up looking like the swastika, right, when it turns. And so, here we have it, Navy SEAL barracks. It looks like a swastika. So, a lot of this stuff is just stuff from the sky, and you can see it as satanic and crazy and evil. It's really where your kind of your frequency's at. If you're in fear, you're going to see everything as terrible. But just once you have knowledge, you realize it's just being they've taken it over. So here we have Baron, and here we have him at the school. I think it's in Scotland or England somewhere, with the king, Regulus. And the reason I put this in here is because I was quite fascinated with his birthday. I did a little search on his birthday and where it lines up in Stellarium. And here we have Regulus is the number 11. Now 11 has to do with 11 dimensions, okay? So if you understand dimensions, you're going to understand that it also, has great importance, number 11. But up here, it's the mermaid again. And the crystal is aqua aura. So always going back to the fish, right? The fish, the fish. So I checked out Baron Trump's birthday. And oh my God, here he is right on, it's called Citus. It's this big sea monster. He's right on the edge of the tail next to Pisces, like he's between Pisces. You'd say he's in Pisces, but the sun was exactly at the tail of this big whale, okay? Which I was like, no way. And then I was listening to, I've listened to Dark Journalists and all about the hot zone all through, Cuba and the Yucatan and off coast of Florida. And somebody else had found the guy that was mapping out all the lines from the Brazilian missile base to the Pentagon. He had mapped out these different shapes, pentagon shapes out here, in Bermuda and stuff. And and the Bahamas, and it maps right through to Mar-a-Lago. Okay, so I'm just like, no way. So I'm like, okay, is there something going on that we really don't know? I need to watch the Aquaman movie because, I think the reason his name is Arthur has a lot to do with King Arthur. I know it's really crazy, but I need to watch that movie and see what's going on. And if you listen to the Dark Journalist and all the information he has on, the hidden pyramids off the coast of Cuba that they found, and also like Ernest Hemingway's fascination with Cuba, and his brother like buying a plot in the ocean and calling it New Atlantis. It's like, and the Kennedys being like really close with the Hemingways. You're kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Ever since I learned about this crazy book called The Last President that was written in like the 1900s, and his other book is called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. Ever since I saw that, I'm like, what's going on with Baron Trump? Okay, and is Trump the last president? And it's starting to pan out that way in my head, anyhow. So anyhow, it's pretty funny. So something to look into and just keep in the back of your mind. Okay, so understanding the zodiac, before all the planets were recognized, they used some of the planets on the zodiacs twice. So we had Saturn, which looks like the number 5, and the 24 is Jupiter. And this is how the zodiacs were all mapped out. We had Mars and Venus and Mercury, and they kind of mirrored each other on either side. So it's like a mirror of the zodiac. And I really think this mirroring is really what's relating to the great year. And we have the moon and the sun, and then everything else mirrors each other. And we have Capricorn and Aquarius up at top, the age of Aquarius, and Saturn. I find it really super interesting because, we have this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction coming up in 2020, which is super important. And it's like, it's on the top of this whole mapping of this zodiac. Now, what they do in Freemasonry is they split that circle and they pull it out straight. And then you have, the moon on one side, which is Cancer, and then you have Leo on the other. And then they have the Saturn in the center, which is the bigger column, because it's for the two, Aquarius and Capricorn. And then they have the 6, which is the cube. Everything's about the cube, right? Well, it's in Freemasonry as well, because it's the hexagon, which ends up being the cube. And then here it shows all the pillars, the sun and the moon. And then the ladder going up to the sun, because that's the ascension ladder. So they're talking about ascension. It's nothing evil. It's just, hidden, because it's only for those that want to see, or only for those that don't have fear, or only for those that are willing to spend the time to learn about it. This is what it's all about. Okay, so here is all the symbols, the alchemic symbols relating to all the, the zodiac, so you understand what each symbol means. Here I wanted to show you the 7 seals, or the 7 chakras, and how they relate, and how the planets are naming to them. Okay, so the crown would be Jupiter. The throat would be Saturn. The heart would be Venus. Mars would be the solar plexus. Jupiter again would be the sacral, and then the root again would be Saturn. So we have Jupiter on the top and Saturn on the bottom. They also, they use different planets, Neptune and Uranus, because they're more modern, but that's how it used to be. Okay, so here we have Revelations 5:5. We got the 55. And one of the elders said to me, weep no more, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scrolls of the 7 seals. This is the 7 chakras, okay? And you've got the 4 living creatures again. The Lamb of God. Now, the reason it's called the Lamb of God is because the top of your head, through your body, you have all these different zodiacs, all relating to your body. So you have Aries is your head, Taurus is your throat, Gemini is your 2 arms, Cancer is your chest, Leo is your heart. It's always about the heart, okay, which is the lion, Regulus. Virgo is your belly. Libra is your kidneys. Scorpio is your hips. Sagittarius is your thighs. Capricorn is your knees. Aquarius is your shins. And Pisces is your feet, which is the soles of your feet, okay? So Aries is your head. This is where your ascension goes to. It's the lamb, okay? So it's connecting your head to your heart, which is the lion and the lamb. Okay, this is where it all comes back to in the Bible if you understand this ancient wisdom. Okay, so if you take all the chakras and you add them up, and then top one adds to 1,000, you get your 144,000. So it's just interesting. That number, I know, is very important. This is showing all the seals and, you know, kind of the shapes that they end up creating. Everything's on frequency, so it creates these shapes. But I thought these hand signals were really cool because the heart one is the pinky. And I remember Bruno Mars did the song 24 karat gold, you know, because everything turns to gold, and 24. And he says, put your pinky finger to the moon. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the heart chakra symbol. And then we have Trump always doing the third eye one. You know, he's always got his hand in the triangle, and that's for the third eye. It could also be the alchemic water symbol as well, but either way, it's, you know, it's ancient knowledge. Okay, so here's another passage in the Bible. For our God is a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29. So here we go. The fire, it's all about ascension, right? It's the ascension up your spine. And it has to do with the vagus nerve. Okay, and here we go back to the beginning of my video where I said the number 10 is the X. Well, the cranial nerve is CNX. Well, CNN gematria adds up to 17. Okay, so we're, you know, in 17 and 10 is 27, which adds up to 9, which is golden ratio. Okay, so yeah, so it's all about the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, you have to be able to handle the fire of God. Okay, so here we have, this is funny how it goes up through your head, but it's also CN9 and CN11. So we got the 911, you know, can't make this stuff up. Yeah, so it's all to do with that. And what's interesting, how when it goes up your spine, the spine has 33 vertebrae in it. So we're getting back to the number 33, and it relates to ascension. Now you got to remember, Jesus ascended, okay, and he wanted to teach people how to ascend. So ascension is not something evil, okay? This is really trying to convince people to not have fear about that word. So here's just some diagrams of, you know, we have the serpent, and that's the fire running up your spine. We have the chakras, the seals, and, you know, this is ancient knowledge coming from other cultures, but they're well aware of the importance of the spine and, you know, how healthy it has to be able to absorb these energies. Now, the other thing that's interesting is all the meridians in the body. There's 12. So the number 12, I think, which relates to the 12 disciples, is relating to the body. I think really a lot of the information in the Bible and stuff is just parables. It's really relating to the sky, and it's relating to our bodies, okay? Yes, there's lots of stories, and, you know, but they're all like myth. They're not, there's no truth to them except how they relate to us and relating to our bodies. So the 12 disciples are these 12 nerves in the brain, which is your crown chakra. To wear the glory of the crown, to have your halo, you've got to be able to get this fire to go up into your spine through your cranial nerves, and so that you know, get your 12 disciples working for you, basically. I think, you know, it's just interesting how it all comes back to our bodies. I found interesting. Heavy metal mercury blocks the action in your vagus nerve to your heart, which makes me think I need to get all my mercury fillings removed, because that can't be good. So yeah, so all these, just a little bit more information coming through all the time, trying to figure out, how to stay healthy for this this event. So here we have the Lord God is the sun and the shield. Well, now he's the sun. Well, the Lord bestows favors and honors. No good things does he withhold from those whose walk is blameless. So you don't blame anybody for the knowledge being kept from you. You don't have anger, that we've been kind of like duped. You just gotta go with the flow and just, move forward and not have all those negative energies and stuff. So it's not healthy for you. So here we have spiritual atoms. Spiritual atoms are a Zen atom that has an X. It's like that. And Zex atom that have their own consciousness, and they also are made up of God's consciousness. So it's all about our DNA dimensions. And here we go again, the 11. I told you about that before. The 11 dimensions. And your helix encodes are 5. This is all coming from a Freemason site that I found, just came across. So here we have the vortex math, without the 3, 6, and 9 in it, comes to 27. You 3 cube that, it comes to 666, which ends up being 18, which brings it back down to 9. It's basic math of how the 13 and the 8 is the phi, is the pentagram, is enlightenment. So yeah, I know it's a lot of math, and it's like, it's too much, but it's important. Once you start to see the patterns, okay, the 9 is all about the golden ratio, and being able to ascend is number 9, okay, and 9 to the 11. This is why they did 9/11 on 9/11, was to make it evil. And then the 22 pathways. I've talked about the Hebrew alphabet and the number 22. Here's just showing you these numbers, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7 and 8, how that makes the W, the 2 of you. Instead of it's not 2 V's, it's two W's. W's, it's the evil you and the good you. And then you have to merge those two together to get up to the number 9. 3, 6, and 9 rules the world. But this I found interesting, the Trinity. So just take a look at these numbers. I'm not going to, try to push them into your head right now, but to understand the number 37, 3 times 7 is 21, 37 times 21 is 777. You start to see the importance of these numbers, and the 111, it's the Trinity, and how they all relate to this vortex math, and how this all goes back to the toroidal fields. And this I found cool, because I was talking about the 13 before, 3311 number. Yeah, 3311 ends up going back down to 693. Interesting. Everything starts to make sense when you start to look at the numbers and how it relates to shapes and all that. And then we have the 88 symbols, number 88. Here we have vortex Fibonacci. Okay, so we got the 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. 1 and 1 adds up to 2, 2 and 1 adds up to 3, 3 and 2 adds up to 5. 5 and 3 adds up to 8. That's how you get Fibonacci. But here they're talking about it's a vortex. And you see the Fibonacci numbers down on the side here, but then they take the 13 and they make that be the 4. So they always bring it back to the base numbers. Then we have, that whole thing there I showed you there was it's the all the Platonic solids. And this graph you're seeing in one dimension, but if you see it, think of it in 3 dimensions. It's something totally different, but here you have your Platonic solids, and this is what Plato said ruled the world, okay? Because it's all coming back to these shapes. Earth is a cube, it's a hexagon. six-sided. If you open it up, it turns out to be a cross. That's why they have a cross on top. That's Earth is the cube. Air is the tetrahedron. The icosahedron is water. The dodecahedron is the ether. It's the universe. It's the plasma field. Okay, and then the air is the octahedron. So you have them all here, and here they are more in a modern view, so you can see the 3 dimensions more. I just wanted to let you see that. Okay, so 33 verses backwards from 8:11 brings us to verse 6:12. And I beheld when we had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as a sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Okay, so that's what's going to happen when this event happens. The sun's going to die for a little bit. Then you have 13 verses forward, you get Revelations 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in Greek tongue hath the name Apollyon, which I don't think, that's evil. I think a lot of it gets twisted around. But the number 3313 is a 24 star number. And anytime it comes back to 24, I'm just like, 2024. So, yeah. You can make what you want of it. It's really a personal journey, and it's really how you want to take this information and what you want to do with it. You want to just think it's all hogwash, that's fine. You just want to protect it in the back of your mind, that's great. The whole key is to just be happy, don't have fear. And I just needed to do all this, so I made sense of the world and what's going on. And I think a lot of people are kind of at that place. This guy did a really awesome job with his video. I will link it. He's talking about the Tetragrammaton, which is basically God. Okay, it's in the Bible. And he decoded the tree of life and figured it out, because it's like he put it into not just one dimension, he put it into like a 3rd dimensional. And you have to watch his video. It just blew me away. And it all relates back to the pyramid, because the Ark of the Covenant actually fits into the big block that's inside one of the chambers. I think the king's chamber. And here's the Tetragrammaton, how it goes back to the Hebrew letters, right? You've got the YH, what is it, YHVH? Sorry, I'm misquoting it if I am. But, the shape of it in 3 dimension is crazy. Like when you see it like this, coming back into, it's the, the flower of life. It's all to do with frequencies and the Star of David, and that's really your shield. And just understanding that shapes have frequencies. It's the frequency that you're on is what's going to save you. If you're in fear, it's not going to save you. If you, don't have a clue what's going on, and you're just, when this event happens, you probably will become in fear. So it's best to just kind of get your mindset around it. And if it never happens, great. Never happens, life carries on. But if you don't make it through this time, you end up going through a 360 years of lifetimes again. That's 360 lifetimes. Okay, and you could not, maybe not be in a great place on earth and be in one of these starving countries. So I just think to save all the suffering, you'd want to, learn how to kind of escape this realm for a little while, until it's time to come back in. But there is supposed to be a golden age, and it's supposed to be beautiful, and, we deserve it. We've gone through enough. And I think the time has come. Everything is pointing towards that. If you haven't figured out something's going on by now, you're just, not ready for this information. So I just wish you the best, and I hope some of this information resonates with you.